With front and rear gearboxes complete, along with the center differential, it's time to start building out and adding more to these, and so it's on to bag E, the rear end assembly. With this bag we are looking at the rear assembly, so we'll need to work with the rear bulkhead section we've built from the previous bag, and with that to hand we can go ahead and empty the contents of bag E. Those who have had the previous EB410 will notice a few new parts in this bag. We have some nice new arms that have been designed to now mount the shocks to the front rather than the back, meaning the sway bar moves to the rear of the arm, hence the new sway bar mount we installed on the bulkhead in the previous kit bag. The hinge pin inserts are also slightly wider to take account for the new slightly thicker 3.5mm hinge pins, and typical of Tekno RC, they fit perfectly, no reaming required at all. And because of the thicker hinge pins, we have different pins and wheelbase shims, which are also grey in colour to make them easier to distinguish. Finally, the C and D blocks are a little more thicker and more robust and allow you to run up to 3 degrees of toe too. Otherwise, we have all the normal mounting hardware to accompany them, so with all parts ready, let's crack on. Now the manual starts with the sway bar installed first, although I'm going to deviate a little as I like to start with the arms first. It just makes sense to me to start from the bottom and work my way up. So with that said, we'll start with the C block where we need to install the inserts on each side, and I'll be sticking to the stock single center dot position for now. Notice the ridge around the edge, these fit nice and flush into the C block. With those in place, we can now use 2 of the 20mm button head screws to secure the C block to the bulkhead, going into plastic here so no thread lock required, although take care not to over tighten. Moving across to our first arm now, where we insert an 8mm set screw on the inner edge, in other words the edge closest to the bulkhead, after which we can insert a hinge pin, pop on a single 1mm shim, and set it into position so that the hinge pin sits within the C block insert. Note that 2 shim sizes are included, a larger 1mm and a smaller 0.5mm. Take care to use the larger 1mm shims for the moment. Repeat with the second arm, so 8mm set screw, hinge pin, and a single 1mm shim before pushing into position. With the arms in place, insert 2 of the smaller 0.5mm shims to either side hinge pin, after which we can secure into position with the D block. So grab your D block and insert the hinge pin inserts to either side. Again, I'm sticking with stock, so it's the single center dot inserts. Pushed into place, taking care to capture the hinge pins while doing so, complete with the double shims in between, and secure into position with 2 14mm button head screws. Again, tighten until snug without stripping out any threads. And that's our arms installed. Notice how free these are, no reaming required at all. Perfect. Okay, so now we can go back to the first part of this kit bag and concentrate on installation of the sway bar, which we can now get fully installed directly onto the arms. So with sway bar in hand, feed through a small sway bar mount, and secure into place with a single 4mm set screw, taking care not to over tighten at all. You'll end up deforming the plastic part completely otherwise. Next, seat the center of the sway bar into position on top of the sway bar mount previously installed, and cover with the top half of the sway bar mount, and secure into position with 2 6mm button head screws. We also need to insert another 2 4mm set screws just beneath the previous button head screws here, although gently screw these in all the way so that they just touch the sway bar before backing off just a touch, just enough so that the sway bar remains free moving. At this point, all we have left is to secure the ends of the sway bar directly to the arms. To do that, we need to grab our sway bar linkage and insert a ball stud into one end, easy with the Tekno shock tool, and a stabilizer ball on the other end, complete with a thread-locked 4mm set screw in place, just enough so it bites into the threads. Attach the ball stud into the rear of the arm, before inserting the sway bar into the opposite end and tightening the set screw already in place so it sits nice and secure. Repeat the same process on the opposite side, so building up the sway bar linkage, before securing the sway bar into position. And with that, that's the rear end assembly and bag E complete. The buggy is starting to take shape nicely now, and although we're 5 bags in, everything has pieced together with perfection. No issues at all. The arms are as free as they could possibly be without no extra intervention. Anyway, we'll carry on finishing up the rear end in the next video with bag F, containing the rear hubs and camber links.